You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And today, we're going to get started right into it with our house call questions of the weekend. So every weekend we answer, right now it looks like we're answering around 8 to 10 questions per weekend, which is absolutely fantastic. We usually stay within about, probably after you submit a question, about a week or two afterwards, you will get your question answered. And that's about where we're running right now. So I'm going to get right into it today because we have, honestly, so many excellent questions and a lot of smart questions. What I'm going to do, though, is sometimes there's a couple different parts to each one. If I've already covered it in depth, I might just point you towards the podcast that could give you a more in-depth explanation as well, because I really do want to make sure that everyone's getting their question answered, but also I can't spend 10 minutes answering each question, so of course I can always point you to more information, and as you'll see with some of these questions, I'm actually going to turn them into their own show because I think they're that important to look at. So the first question is from Erika. Erika is asking, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you so much for your wonderful podcast. I'm so happy to have discovered it. I have two questions for you. I've been recently diagnosed with Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's means low thyroid. And I'm taking T3 and T4. And those are two different types of medications for the active form of thyroid. The one thing, and I'm ad-libbing here at the same time, the one thing that has yet to improve is that I'm always cold." And that's in exclamation points and all caps. "I'm an athlete, work out, eat relatively clean, have low normal body fat, and a healthy weight. Why am I always cold? Before the medication, it was much worse. But even with T3 and T4, it isn't much better." Okay, so here's the thing. I work with tons of people in my practice with Hashimoto's and other autoimmune-based disorders. And Hashimoto's is that, meaning like your immune system is essentially attacking your own thyroid, causing you a lot of the time to produce higher levels of antibodies and a number called TPO, and that is really something that I would test. Not a lot of people test for that as much as they should. We have a great thyroid test in the store that you can obviously do right at home. All of our tests you can do right at home. That's the great thing about them. And you want to look at that. You actually want to see, is it really your Hashimoto's or are you just low thyroid? Because sometimes we'll improve someone from an autoimmune perspective where they're no longer attacking their own thyroid. They're not producing those antibodies against their thyroid. That's because we clean up the gut health and we do a lot of other things as well. But now they're still low thyroid, and of course we have to correct that. No, really great. That's why I love when people add a little extra to their question. By saying you're always cold means this is, and you're also saying that you're working out, that you're eating relatively clean, and that you're lower body fat. All of this shows that you are most likely working out, I would say pretty hard, or at least just overall your body's under a fair amount of stress. When the hands are cold, when the feet are cold, when they're always cold, it's a good sign that your body's under what's called sympathetic nervous system tone or sympathetic nervous system stress, which most people refer to as the fight or flight. So what happens is the arteries constrict, the capillaries constrict. Since all the little blood vessels are much smaller in your hands and feet, there's very little room for those to constrict. So when they do constrict, there's less blood flow. Therefore, the digits, the hands and the toes, are going to be much colder than the central part of the body where the blood is pulling towards anyways, and deep into the core of the muscles to get ready to either run away or attack. And so what we need to do in these certain situations is actually not just look at the thyroid, because remember, so many people, and I'm going to do a whole episode on the thyroid, but so many people don't ever correct their thyroid because they don't understand, and their endocrinologist and their doctors and their specialists have never told them that the thyroid is largely a downstream gland to the adrenals, meaning that the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, called the HPA, virtually controls a lot of what goes on with your thyroid and thyroid production. So as you start to produce more and more stress in the body and produce adrenaline or norepinephrine, you actually block TSH from forming T4. And there's an enzymatic transformation there. And when you start to produce cortisol or glucocorticoids or catecholamines, and that is stress hormone, you actually block T4 to be converted to T3, which is inside the red blood cells, which is about 70 to 80% of all your thyroid is that T3. And it can also cause T3 to be converted to reverse T3, which is not usable. So many things to look into, but look at that sympathetic nervous system stress. We need to calm down that stress in any way possible. All right, Erika's second question is around my stools. I read somewhere that if your stool is always floating, that is a bad thing, and it could mean I have digestive issues. Is that true? This isn't just once in a while for me. It's always. Thanks. All right, so this is great, and I'm really glad that she qualified this. I'm just guessing. Again, I have never met with Erika, that she's most likely on a lower carbohydrate, higher fat, higher protein diet, that she might be closer to maybe a keto-based diet. She says she's working out. She says she's lower body fat. She says she's eating relatively clean. I just kind of get that hunch. She's always so cold. That keto-based diet can also put you in a higher stress position. I'll talk about that more in the future as well. Again, I go against the grain some of the times, but I always do it based on science and do it also based on so much clinical research of me actually seeing people every single day. So what I would say is this, is yes, it is a cause of digestive function. Usually when your stool floats, and it's not a cause of because it's broken apart, because if you're eating lots and lots of fiber, sometimes the stool can actually float up because of all the fiber. But a lot of the time, the stool floats when there's poor digestion of fats. And heavy fats, undigested fats, can cause the stool to float. You probably, if you mix oil and water together, you'll probably notice that the oil separates out to the top, right? That's what we're talking about, oils of fat. So we're looking at it in almost the same exact way. Density, buoyancy, and all of those specific things. I won't get too much into stool specimens right now, but I do study stool in depth with parasite, bacteria, and of course, all these different digestive-based issues that I work with every single day in my practice. So my first recommendation is lipase, which is an enzyme that helps you digest fats. It's just a great place to start. So we have one in the Stephen Cabral store. It's called Daily Digestive. It is hands down my number one recommendation. It's great for proteins, carbs, and fats. And I believe I did a review on enzymes on episode 265. So Erika, please go to stephencabral.com/265 and you will get your answers. And again, the Daily Digestive Enzyme, that is the one I recommend. And email back. Let me know after taking that if you're starting to digest your food that much better. You just take one capsule with each meal right in the beginning. All right, hopefully that helps. Okay, I have a note from my office that's actually with all my questions for today. And my office wrote, please do not use the stephencabral.com/ask Cabral for customer support or trying to book a consultation with myself by Skype or in person. Only because of this. These questions are not a lot of times being answered right away because we're kind of backlogged. So we want to just provide the best customer support possible. So the fastest way, getting your email answered the same day, just go support@drcabraldetox.com. Really simple. Between 8:30 and 5:30 Eastern, we have people answering questions all day long. So you can just do that. And then, of course, if you're booking a consultation or trying to book a consultation with myself, you can do that as well. You can just email support@drcabraldetox, and my assistant will send you an application to look at that Skype consultation, again, anywhere in the world or, of course, in Boston. We are, again, backlogged a little bit, but I'm always happy to help. Okay. Haley is up next. She's asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I had an allergy test when I suspected I had a reaction to peanuts. The test revealed I had a peanut allergy, but also a corn and wheat allergy. I like using a greens powder in my smoothie, but almost all of them have wheatgrass powder. I avoid eating bread and flour products, but should I avoid wheatgrass too? Thank you. Okay, great question, smart question. And this is super complicated. It actually isn't super complicated. It's just very confusing. And it makes like zero sense when you look at it from just a surface level saying, and again, nutritionists really don't know this either because you have to look deep into it. And here it is. So wheatgrass, barley grass, and you don't really see this too often, but ryegrass. Sometimes you'll see that as well. when they are young grass, all that means is when they are first sprouting out of the soil and they are starting to grow, they do not yet contain gluten. Okay, so they're gluten-free grasses. They are not yet a grain. All right, really important because they're not yet a grain. So what happens next is this. After a certain amount of maturity, growing wheatgrass or growing barley grass, because those are the two that I use that are great benefit, they're going to start sprouting seeds. And once the seeds come about, that then contains the gluten. But here's the real kicker to all of this, is that if not all of your wheatgrass is being grown at the same exact time, and some of that wheatgrass sprouts those seeds, then all of your wheatgrass is contaminated. And so what I would say is this. We, as in my company, the one that I formulate for, and I'm the biggest stickler out of anybody. It took me over 18 months to formulate a greens, and ours is called the Daily Fruit and Vegetable Blend. I am gluten-free myself, so you'll see that on the back, the very first ingredients are organic spirulina, which of course is gluten-free, organic barley grass juice, and organic wheat grass juice. So you'll see we have two of those ingredients in there. Why? Well, they contain massive amounts of chlorophyll. They contain massive amounts of vitamins and minerals, and they're so great for the body in terms of an alkalizing effect. Again, that doesn't mean changing blood pH, but it does mean producing and giving your body lots and lots of great minerals. And so what we do is we send ours out to a certified third party. They test it and they certify it and send us a piece of paper that says this is gluten-free and safe for those people with gluten intolerances. Why does that matter to me? Because I work with people with Crohn's, colitis, celiac, IBS, SIBO, you name it. All of those people should not be eating gluten. They absolutely should not. Once they get better, not celiac, but once the other people get better, could they do it as once a week for a cheat meal? Most likely. They most likely would, because we've repaired that gut wall, we've decreased inflammation. But for people who have celiac, and which is different than your question, Haley, it's an actual cause an autoimmune-based reaction, which is different. So here's the way that my company gets around it. Our organic, so this is organic, of course, so it's not sprayed with those harmful cancer-causing pesticides as well, is they cut it all at the same time. It's all grown at the same time. It gets to a certain number. Let's say it's like 2 inches. All of it's cut at exactly the same time before it has any chance of sprouting those seeds. So again, hopefully that makes sense. It just goes back to this. It's like when you buy your vegetables, you want to know your farmer if possible. So you go to a farmer's market, you're like, hey, we have a great company around us. They're in Deerfield, Massachusetts, nowhere near close to us, but they come to the farmer's markets in Boston. I talk with the farmers and I go, what are you doing for your growing practices? What are you doing for your pesticides, those types of things? I know what they're doing. I know they're certified, they're organic. I know the quality of the soil and I know the quality of their vegetables. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I get to know that. And then it's the same with nutritional supplements. Like, that's why you shouldn't just be buying a random nutritional supplement from Amazon. It's putting your own life and your own health in someone else's hands that you don't really trust. So what I say is you go with a functional medicine-based company. You go with someone who third-party tests, that you trust, and that they use the product themselves. A lot of these supplement manufacturers, they just go to like Amazon summits. They third-party private label these supplements from China and other places, and I don't even care if it's certified or not. Like, you're getting certified in China, and again, no offense, but there's a lot of corruption, and it's not just in China, so I'm not singling it out. But I just wouldn't do it. There's too much contamination. So all I do is I go with the companies that I trust. I love Thorne, love Orthomolecular. Of course, my company's Equilibrium Nutrition. I formulate it myself, and I'm stricter than anybody else out there because I use this with myself, my own body. I want to live forever, and I use it with my family and, of course, everyone in my practice. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that answers your question. It's gluten-free when it's cut young enough. That's basically it. All right, we have one more question today, and it's from Anna, and the question is, it says, I have a couple questions for you, and thank you for all you do. My boyfriend has athlete's foot or toe fungus. He has been putting various CVS Walmart creams on it that don't seem to be working. I told him to go natural route, but he gets overwhelmed with the options online. He has had this for years, since football and college, and he is now 35. What can he do? Should I invest? And so the next question is asking about a certain water alkalizer or things like that. I'm going to make that its own show. Most likely it's going to be coming up this Friday. It's most likely going to be on our Friday review. And so definitely tune back in for that one, of course. I can't answer that. It's its own question. Too many people have a question on this. So let's talk about toe fungus. Toe fungus, athlete's foot, it's a fungus. It can be yeast-based. If he has any overall itchiness, scalp itchiness, jock itch, those types of things as well, definitely look for an overall yeast-based, candida-based issue. Simple test. You can do an organic acids test. You can look for these specific things. That's what I would look for. I would absolutely, if this has been sticking with him for years, could it be an infection that just got a fungal-based infection? Possible, but your body's susceptible to it, which most likely means your GI tract is off, your immune system's off. Why isn't your body naturally killing this on its own? Why is the mucosa, which surrounds the body and also on the skin, not working properly? So I look at those things. I would recommend the organic acid test. He'll get our recommendations, meaning my recommendations. Then he'll get to speak with my holistic health coach. If you don't want to go that route and you just want to use natural antifungals, well, then that's fine as well. You can start applying things like coconut oil. That works fantastically well. It's natural antifungal. It is natural antimicrobial. Another great one that's worked really well for many, many people is tea tree oil. So you could certainly try that. Your boyfriend can also take coconut oil orally, just 1 tablespoon once to twice per day. He can do that with meals or away from meals. Either way is totally fine. That's antimicrobial for the gut as well. I wouldn't start with probiotics yet. I would use something like Saccharomyces boulardii. But again, in my opinion, find out what the real underlying root cause is so he doesn't have to deal with this for the next, he's been doing this for a couple of years, right? So he's 35. You better get it in check now because this might not just be the feet. It might be internally as well. So hard for me just to say, hey, use this topical thing when it could be internal coming to the outside because, again, you're outside of your body. Your scalp, dandruff, psoriasis, eczema, skin rashes, rosacea, all of these things are an internal manifestation showing themselves on the outside. So you really do need to look internally. Again, my recommendation, that organic acid test. If not, start using the coconut oil, start using some tea tree oil applications, do a little bit of the coconut oil internally as well, and then maybe just if you just want straight anti-yeast is a Saccharomyces boulardii. Not Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but Saccharomyces boulardii. Or if you don't want to do the lab testing, even better, go do the 3-month, the 12-week anti-candida, antibacterial protocol on the Stephen Cabral website as well. Same one I use in my practice. It works phenomenally well. So hopefully that gave you a couple options, and then you and your boyfriend can talk it over. And of course, if you have more questions, feel free to write back in, and I would be happy to answer them for you. And do please, I love people do send in their success stories, so I love hearing that. But after you've tried these things, let us know how it went. I love hearing those success stories. That is why I do what I do. So thank you everyone for tuning in to another Cabral House Call, and I'll be back tomorrow answering 4 more of your questions. Take care, everyone.
Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.